All right, so if you're an eye care professional or an optometrist and you are experiencing burnout, I've got 5 things that you can do to help reduce your stress that you're enduring that will eventually lead to that kind of path. And the first thing you need to do is you just need to understand your flow. So what I mean by that is you need to understand the average amount of time it takes you to see per patient. So you need to see how long it's actually taking you. Are you talking too slow? Are you talking too fast? Are you talking too much? You need to have a great understanding of what your actual time that you're actually taking up. And then once you figure this out, you need to figure out what is like your sweet spot. If you're figured out you're too slow because at the end of the day you're still in the office and it's like an hour past closing time, then like you're stressing yourself out because you are being too slow. So you need to figure out what your sweet spot is. So once you figured out your sweet spot, then you can figure out how many patients you can handle per hour. Okay. So if you're seeing 5 patients per hour and you are still staying after work for and not eating lunch and things like that, maybe you need to go down to 4 an hour, at least from a starting point. And then what I would say is you need to figure out if you want to continue to see that amount of patients, what things you can do to kind of increase your patient flow. All right, the second thing you need to do is you need to understand your patient's needs. So what I mean by this is just simply ask the patient what they are there for and fix that problem, or at least answer that question. You will save a ton of time if you just listen to your patients. They will literally come in and tell you what they want done. If they say they just want a comprehensive eye exam, then they want a comprehensive eye exam. So do that. If they tell you that they have eye pain, they want you to look at their eyes. So do that. Okay? Don't if you want to save time and you want to have a good customer relationship, that is how you do it. Okay? And then you'll start to notice it's not taking you so long throughout the day because you're literally answering the questions that the patients have and not answering other questions that was never part of the problem. Because I can promise you, when you start doing that, patients stop listening and then they just go like, oh, he's too smart and I don't really feel like he's actually like listening to me. And then guess what? It leads to burnout because you're still seeing too many patients because you're taking too long per patient. All right, the third thing you need to do is don't do unnecessary tests. So what I mean by that is don't do tests that you don't need to do. Simple as that, right? Main thing you need to do is you need to check VAs. You need to see how well the patient sees, right? That gives you the story as far as like in depth of what you're looking at, right? If they have pink eye, do what you need to do for pink eye. Do a simple comprehensive exam that is geared towards pink eye. You don't need to be doing stereopsis on a patient that has pink eye, right? Why are you doing that test? Don't do that. You don't need to probably do an in-depth visual field on a patient if they've got pink eye. Why are you doing that? The patient's probably looking at you too, like, why are you doing that? Don't waste their time. Once you learn how to not waste people's time, you will learn how to not waste your time, okay? All right, next thing I would tell you to do is also just be very direct, okay? So if patient tells you what they want done, then do that. Don't do extra stuff. Don't do extra tests. Like they want you to fix their problem. If you do extra tests, I promise you the patient will know that you're doing extra tests because they can sense when they just sit there for too long. And they don't want to do that. They want you to value their time. And in turn, you will eventually value your time once you start valuing their time. If you do it in that order, I promise you, you will feel a lot better. If you think about it from the patient's perspective and not your perspective, I promise you, you will feel better and less stressed throughout the day. All right, fourth thing I would tell you to do is simply just go take walks. I do this, right? So I can handle seeing 5, 6, and 7 patients an hour. And I do this because I'm doing the things that I'm telling you. This is what I learned from experience. I've also learned this because I've done the management side when it comes to the optical industry. So I've seen the patient's complaints from both ends. So I have a great understanding of what to expect when a patient comes in with a specific complaint. So I know how to handle it in the doctor's office, and I know how it's going to be handled after they leave the room. So because of that, I have an interconnection of understanding like the best way to service this patient, so that way they get exactly what they're looking for and don't have to come back multiple times, okay? So what I do is like if I have an opening, especially late break, I will go take a walk. I'll walk around the building. At this point, I've walked around the building so much that people who work in other little shopping areas around me, they're like, yeah, he's just doing his little walks. So it's kind of funny. But I do that because one, sunlight just feels great on my face. I like going outside and just looking out, and I just instantly feel better throughout the day. If you just stay inside all day, and it might just kind of just seem very gloomy, and then that can make things more depressing. So go touch grass and get some sunlight. I promise you, you'll feel better. And if you don't, at least you'll get some exercise, and of course, in the long run, that will make you feel better. All right. Fifth thing I got is probably one of the most important things. Okay. You need to communicate with your store manager, especially if you have one. If you don't, because you're in a private practice and you're wearing all the hats, you need to figure out how to stop wearing all the hats. That's not a video for that, but I'm sure there's a video to help you figure that out. But if you do have a store manager, your biggest takeaway from this is to communicate with them. They are your guide, and they will help you achieve the things you want to achieve, but you have to let them know what's going on before it becomes a bigger problem. They control the flow for the store if you let them. If you try to control everything, you will be burned out because that is not your role. Your role is the doctor. So do the doctor thing. Help the patients and be the doctor. Don't try to be store manager and the doctor. Don't try to control the schedule. The schedule has been made. You probably agreed to that schedule long before you met your store manager. The store manager is there to help control that flow for you. But if you do not do what we mentioned before, understand your flow, then nobody can help you, okay? But if you want to learn how to manage your flow, I would suggest you communicate with your store manager. They can get everything aligned. They can talk to the receptionist, and then the receptionist will know what the things that you do and do not like. So how do you handle follow-ups? What do you expect from follow-ups? They can do all those things if they have a great understanding of like what your needs and wants are, because then they'll try to tailor everything around you. However, now that I say that, I want you to understand that everything isn't about you. You can do it that way if you want to, but if you want to avoid burnout, I highly suggest you do things from the customer's perspective. If you do that, I promise you, you will reduce the time that you spend with your patient, and they will not feel rushed. I do this all the time. I spend enough time with patients to get them to the point where I answer all of their questions. After every exam, I ask them, do you have any other questions? And I answer those questions. And when they come in, the first thing I ask them is, what are you here for? They tell me exactly what they're there for. Sometimes they don't, which is okay. They don't really know. They're just there for a comprehensive eye exam. And I get that. But if they have something that's very direct, I make sure that I figure what that problem is. If they've got headaches, what am I looking for? I'm looking at the back of the eye. Is there any swelling around the optic nerve? I'm looking at, do they have astigmatism? What kind of job do they do? As soon as I ask that question, I'm already analyzing everything that can be possible for that. So when I'm doing my test, I'm looking to see if that matches. But I don't do tests that I don't need to run, okay? That's the biggest thing. I don't do stuff that I don't need to do, okay? Do all the important stuff that you need to do and be very direct to answer the patient and do everything you need to get their care. So work with your manager. They're there to help support you. If you don't, you will probably experience burnout. So if you don't want to experience burnout, or at least want to reduce a lot of stress that you're enduring throughout the day, I highly suggest you communicate with your store manager and do things from your customer's perspective. And I promise you, in the long run, you'll feel better in no time. Anyway, if you thought this was useful, consider subscribing and join my free community. Thank you. I'll see you in the next one.